Welcome to MLSsoccer.com's 2013 MLS season preview. We're here in New York City at the Football Factory at Legends. I'm Greg Lalas, editor-in-chief of MLSsoccer.com. And the question we're answering in this episode is, which new coach will succeed and which will struggle? Let me introduce our panel of experts. Up first, Taylor Twellman, ESPN analyst and two-time goal-scoring champion in Major League Soccer. Jason Saghini, director of video for MLSsoccer.com and a wealth of knowledge about everything about MLS and its history. Craig Waibel, four-time MLS Cup champion with the San Jose Earthquakes, LA Galaxy, and the Houston Dynamo.
Only bald guy here.
Only one. And Andrew Wiebe, new media editor for MLSsoccer.com and one of the rising stars in the soccer punditry world. All right, there are five new coaches in MLS in 2013. Mike Petke in New York, Marco Schalabam in Montreal, Ryan Nelson in Toronto, Caleb Porter in Portland, and of course, El Chelis at Chivas USA. Jason, we're going to start with you. Which of these five new coaches is going to succeed in 2013?
For me, it's Caleb Porter. You just look at the tools that he has, bringing in Valeri. The problem with Portland in the past for me is they had a lot of good pieces, but they were all the different puzzles. I think Porter over the last year...
That's a good analogy, actually.
Yeah,
I like that.
Porter over the last... Thank you. Was making the moves. He brought in Ryan Johnson. He brought in Will Johnson. He brought in guys who believe in what he's doing. He brought in a bunch of guys from Akron also. And I think now the puzzle makes a lot more sense. So I think he has the tools to succeed. It really depends on what you consider success, but I think the Portland Timbers need to get into the playoffs, and I think they will.
Still the back end of that puzzle a little bit lacking, though. I mean, you have to admit he's going to have to solve some problems on that back line.
Who's playing center back for them?
Somebody's got to get healthy.
Yep.
You got to get that training staff going on those guys.
There's still a few pieces of your puzzle missing, but I agree. Caleb will do well. I actually think Mike Petke will be the most successful new coach, and simply because I think his job this year is to manage a group, as opposed to really tactically be challenged in his infancy of coaching. I know he's been an assistant for quite a while, so he's familiar with the players, with the league as a player and now a coach. But I think his job becomes a little bit more of the in-locker room job, managing the guys before he sends them out to play together and on the same page, understanding that there are guys, young guys, American guys, Dax McCarty for me, that can connect that team and really make it work.
And what makes you think, though, that Petke has that?
You know, I don't know if it's necessarily just him. I think the pieces that have been brought in around him in the last couple months, Espindola, Alave, Juninho, these are pieces that other coaches would love to have, let's be honest.
As long as he has Thierry Henry, let's be honest, he's got the locker room. And I think you look at another coach, Marco Schalabam in Montreal, I think he's got the locker room as well because he was brought in as the guy to kind of massage those Italian egos, make sure they're happy, and they're gonna ride or fall with those guys. So if he can get production out of them, I think he's going to be the guy to have the most success. I think fifth seed for them, for Montreal, that would be an enormous season, and I think he gets it. They sneak in on the back end as a wild card.
If success is based on points and points only, it's Mike Petke because he's got the best team around him at this particular moment. He's coming into a situation that if he only works on their defense and makes sure they stop giving up goals, they're going to be fine. They're going to score goals. Montreal, I don't believe that one. I'm sorry.
We disagree.
But here's where the question is, what defines success? We're talking about Chivas, guys. We're talking about Chivas. Boom Boom Chelis has all of us reading articles about his training, talking about American medicine. Already Chivas is a success now because he's come in and given them something, an identity, an attitude, whatever that is. The fact that I'm talking about Chivas, that's successful.
But the fact that MLS Cups define success, Mike Petke has the best
Says
chance.
the only person with an MLS Cup to his name.
It only took us 3.5 minutes till we brought it up. So I
Get
appreciate
introduced
it.
right after you. It's just a joke.
I give you that. I think you made a great point. What is the barometer? And that's what's going to define it because it's different for every team. Because for me, I actually went the other way on Mike Petke and said, for me, Mike Petke is probably going to be the one who doesn't succeed. Now, the reason I say that is because with the Red Bulls, you're defining success by being in an MLS Cup, winning it, or at least qualifying for Champions League. And I don't think he can take that team there. I just don't see enough players on that team who are committed on the defensive side of the ball.
But that's not Mike Petke.
I think they'll make the playoffs.
But
Pull
that's
the
not
curtain
Mike
back
Petke.
and
You're
Robin
saying
Fraser.
It's the players, not Petke.
Sure, I mean, in the end, the coach is going to be judged. I don't think he's going to be fired. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think he's going to do a good job. But when you look at what the Red Bulls are expected to do, and they are expected to win a championship soon.
They just got rid of Hans Backe, the most successful coach in franchise history. So I'm with you.
It's a different market. It's a different market, and I just don't
either.
see Pecky being able to take this group of players to MLS Cup.
Well, at some point, we need to mention Ryan Nelson up in Toronto. So does anybody think he's going to be able to pull them out of the doldrums?
Zero.
No
I
chance.
mean, none. And when you're a player,
Zero
and
chance this year. You think
that's
ever?
what we're based on. It's 2013.
Right, okay.
I'm not doing the 2016
Well, I just wanted
MLS
to be
preview
fair.
right now.
I wanted to be fair to Ryan Nelson and say that somewhere down the line he's probably going to.
I'm talking literally for this season. They only have 21 players currently, as of this day, on the roster. 3 of them are goalkeepers. Now, do I think in the long haul Ryan Nelson's going to be a hell of a coach? Right. Yes. But as Jason Kreis found out in his first 8 to 9 months, Ben Olsen, everybody goes, was very successful. He was an assistant coach for 9 months before the head coach. Mm-hmm. There's no experience, and I don't care how good of a leader you are in Ryan Nelson. There's a growing pain, and he's going to have some growing pains that I think Toronto fans are going to be like, here we go again.
On top of that, ask a Toronto fan what defines their team. Yep. We know what defines Chivas now, which maybe it didn't in the past. But what defines Toronto? What's their characteristic? Who are they? And we've heard Ryan talk about the defensive side of the ball, but he doesn't have those pieces yet to play the way he's talking.
What's defined him has been dysfunction over the last couple of years. If he can turn that around, I think he's a success. But you look at, he's not going to have his DPs on the field. Who's the leader on the field? Who's the one actually transferring his ideas out there? Maybe Terry Dunfield. He's a guy with experience, but Frings may not be there, and Koverman's is still a ways away.
But then this goes back to our success before we end this segment. And if they win 6 games, technically that's more successful than last year. So it is one of those predicaments. I think Ryan Nelson, 5 years from now, we're all going to be sitting here saying he's one of the top 5 coaches in MLS, no doubt. But I think 2013, he will reference when he's older and say, I learned a whole hell of a lot about myself as a person and as a head coach, because this year's going to be rough.
Well, 5 new coaches in MLS. That means 5 very interesting storylines to follow all through the 2013 season. Let us know who you think will succeed and who you think will struggle. Hit us up on our personal Twitter handles here. Any one of us, I'm sure Taylor would love to talk to. He loves doing it on Twitter. And don't forget, the season starts March 2nd. That's it for this episode of MLSsoccer.com's 2013 MLS season preview. But make sure you check out all of the other episodes.